Hey everybody, I thought I'd start my next project here. This is going to be well, what this is the Wave Corporation's Type 66 mobile Maser cannon from the Godzilla movies. The movies were cheesy as all get out, but the miniatures, the detail, the amount of time the production company spent doing these miniatures, they're incredibly detailed. So I was always, as a kid, just loved to watch the movies for the destruction of these little things. And my good friend R. Warren brought one of these kits back on his latest trip from Japan. I didn't even know they existed. Come to find out, they come in a small scale, and they come in a larger, this scale is 187 HO. The other two that are available, which is another Type 66 and then a Type 70, I suspect from the newer Godzilla movies, newer I mean 70s and possibly 80s, they're 1/48 scale, I think, and they're referred to as die casts, but really only the lower portion of the tracked vehicle is metal. The rest is plastic and very nicely done. And they're built, I guess you call them toys. One version came remote control. The two I've got are just static, but I will be adding motorized tracks and be controlling the articulation of this dish. What's unique about it is as you move the arm up and down, the dish stays parallel to the turret, perpendicular to the ground. It's really, really very nice for a toy in the other, and for in this it does the same thing at HO scale. Normally wouldn't be that interested in the size, but when my friend R. Warren brought it in to work and showed it to me, I just had to get one because the detail and the attention to detail was just enough to sell me on it. I've already started some work. Here I've cut out this whole cavity. I've added functional headlights, and these are just protective caps on there because I'll be adding tiny wiring. The tub I won't be using because unfortunately the tracks are molded and I want this thing to move if at all possible. So I went out on a search to find a tiny toy tank that was in the same scale or close enough that I could modify, and lo and behold, this is what I found. These well, here, what did I do with the boxes? Oops, hold on for a second. Yeah, hold on. All right, this is how they come. They're on average just a little under $17 a piece, and the thing that kind of sold me on these was not just the fact that they were remote control, but they did it with dual motors. These are individual, and what's cool is it has sound effects, but they're just way too fast. They're too hard to control. You know, I'm going to have to do something to slow these things down. They just, I'm sorry, they just won't work as they sit. So I'm going to do another video showing my going from the motors that are presently in here and the electronics, which here's one that's opened up. They're using tiny coreless motors that are designed for drones. They're made to spin insanely fast to get enough lift to fly the drones around, but not so good when you're trying to couple it with a tank. So what I've done here already on my test bed is I've changed the motors. I've gone from those coreless to these cord motors. These spin much slower and are a lot easier to control. This has already got the electronics in it. This is a 4-channel radio receiver, and this is a dual motor tank driver. The reason why I refer to it as a tank driver is it's got the mixer already built in to where you have one stick control forward and backwards, and you have the other stick that controls left and right. And what the motor driver does is it translates those two stick controls into controlling the motors in such a function that you do get dual tracks in forward and backwards, and reversal of tracks when you're turning them proportionally to mimic what a real tank does. I'm going to do a separate video showing the disassembly and the upgrading from these motors to these motors, and I'm going to be doing it to a couple, so that video may just end up being a little bit more specific to this than anything else, and the victims or the donors will be these little gearhead assemblies that I bought off of eBay. I have a tendency to buy things that I don't necessarily have a project for, but they look interesting enough to where, hey, they might come in handy, and I'll buy them in bulk and set them aside. I've got if you look over here on my wall, hold on, you'll see I've got plenty of parts that I can choose from to to help in my builds. It's just something that I've always done. If it's there, if it's cheap, and if it's in a quantity, get it. And this all stems back to an old time issue back in like 2006, I think it was. I wanted to build a functional scanner disc, I forget what they call it, on the top of the Jupiter 2, and it was when stepper motors were still fairly large, and I stumbled across these. Do I have? Yeah, I have one right here. Here we go. This was a 20 millimeter stepper motor, probably one of the smaller ones at the time, and I put it into the Jupiter 2. You'll see a video in my channel about this. It's very short, showing it working, and I only bought so many, and then when I had the chance to buy 100 of these for other projects, I lost the opportunity. I freaked, so now I kind of go overboard in a slight bit of hoarding, to where if I see something, I'll buy it and set it aside and put it in my little part repository, and just so happened these little things came in perfect for this, because it really slows the gear drive down here, which I'll demonstrate that in another video. But getting back to the Macer, sorry about digressing there, this fits perfect. You're going to have to obviously paint it. With the original Tiger, you had these inner wheels, which are static. They don't even turn. The outer ones do. So I cut those out, and by doing so, kind of looks a little bit closer to what the prop in the movie looked like. Not a rivet counter, so the differences between this and what was actually in the movie I don't care about, but the important thing is it just fits perfectly. Let me conclude this video, and I'm going to focus on a separate video on modding these things. Hope you find it beneficial, and for the end of this video, I'll see you all later. Bye!